right, good morning. Welcome back to my stream. Today is Tuesday. Today's also the 22nd day of February, 2022. So 22/2/22 or 2/22/22 on a Tuesday, depending on how you like to write it. Welcome. I'm sure your Twitter feeds are full of that. All right. That aside, we're going to continue today with the roguelike tutorial. Yesterday we managed to get the obfuscated scroll names and potion names done. That was fun. Now when we pick up or when we encounter a spell or a scroll or something for the first time, if we haven't bought it from a vendor or if we haven't, I'm just going to go see if I can find one quickly, because you know how scrolls and potions just get lying around everywhere. If we tooltip over it, we see a scroll of Ivofef. You pick it up, it still says that. It says that down here as well. And then if we use it, Shift 3, it's doing something, and we can just click somewhere inside, and then it identified it, but of course, we don't have any code yet, which will show you items that you already know. Maybe that's coming soon. Oh, the magic missile scroll. So I just picked it up and then we see it's a magic missile scroll. So now we can see, boom, we just killed a rat. Quite average rat. Bear Duda, hi, how are you? Good to see you. All right. So today we're going to be doing effects, and I think that just means a lot of refactoring, because effects are, you know, what happens when you do something and how do you handle that in the code. So let's start reading. This looks like a lot of text before we get to, so we're going to do a quick cleanup here on the inventory system, but let's learn about effects. We are clean in our workspace, so we're ready to go. So in the last chapter, we added item identification to magical items, and it became clear that potentially there are lots of items we could create. Our inventory system is seriously overloaded. It does way too much in one place, ranging from equipping, unequipping items to the guts of making magic missile spells fly. Worst, we've silently run into a wall. Specs limits the number of data stores you can pass into a system, and will probably continue to do so until Rust supports C++ style variadic parameter packs. We could just hack around the problem, but it would be far better to solve the problem once and for all by implementing a more generic solution. It also lets us solve a problem we don't know we have yet, handling effects from things other than items, such as spells or traps that do zany things, etc. This is also an opportunity to fix a bug you may not have noticed. An entity can only have one component of a given type. So if two things have issued damage to a component in a given tick, only the one piece of damage actually happens. Okay. I don't remember if we spotted that bug or not, and I'm going to guess probably not. What is an effect? To properly model effects, we need to think about what they are. An effect is something doing something. Okay. Can you vague that up a little for me? It might be a sword hitting a target, a spell summoning a great demon from abyss, or wand clearing summoning a bunch of flowers. What? There's probably a word or two missing here. Pretty much anything, really. We want to keep the ability for things to cause more than one effect. If you added multiple components to an item, it would fire all of them, and that's a good thing. A staff of thunder and lightning could easily have two or more effects. So from this we can deduce an effect is one thing, but the source of an effect might spawn multiple effects. An effect, therefore, is a good candidate to be its own entity. Oh, that's an interesting idea that I had not considered. An effect has a source. Someone has to get experience point if it kills someone, for example. It also needs to have an option to not have a source. It might be purely environmental. An effect has one or more targets. It might be self-targeted, targeted on one other, or an area of effect. Yeah, we did those already. Targets are therefore either an entity or a location. An effect might trigger the creation of other effects in a chain. Think chain lightning, for example. An effect does something, but we don't really want to specify exactly what in the early planning stages. And we want effects to be sourced from multiple places, using an item, triggering a trap, a monster special attack, a magical weapon's proc effect, casting a spell, or even environmental effects. So we're not asking for much. I think that's sarcasm. Fortunately, this is well within what we can manage with an ECS. We're going to stretch the S a little and use a more generic factory model to actually create the effects and then reap the benefits of a relatively generic setup once we have that in place. So today's stream looks like it's going to be less of adding gameplay elements and more of learning how to make the game more maintainable and easier to add things to. All right, inventory system, quick cleanup. Before we get too far in, we should take a moment to break up the inventory system into a module. We'll retain exactly the functionality it already has for now, but it's a monster. I guess the inventory system is a monster, and monsters are generally better handled in chunks. So we're going to create an inventory system folder. There we go. Supercuber says, anyone else needs to refresh Twitch 3 times before module fast load error go away? I've seen that before. I don't know how to fix it other than refreshing. All right, so we created an inventory system and we're going to move inventory system.rs and call it mod.rs. Okay, source tutorial, source inventory system mod.rs. And this is going to break everything, right? Because now we don't have inventory system. If I do a cargo check, for example, this is going to fail miserably. Well, it is looking for pubmod inventory system. So maybe that means all I have to do is add it to main. Oops. I keep forgetting there's a map in there. So I say use RTE inventory system. Is that all? Oh no, I have to put it in the lib, right? I just want to see if we can get back to parity here. All right, so this no longer has inventory system. I don't know why I'm saving and then doing a check. Okay, so this works. We've gotten that back. So we have a bunch of systems in it, that's right. We're going to make a new file for each of these, cut the system's code out of mod, and paste it into its own file. We'll need to copy the use part of mod.rs to the top of these files, and then trim out what we aren't using. At the end, we'll add modx, UDX system name lines in mod.rs to tell the compiler that the module is sharing these systems. This would be a huge chapter if I pasted in each of these changes, and since the largest item use system is going to change drastically, that would be rather large waste of space. Instead, we'll go through the first, and then you can check the source code to see the rest. All right, so this seems fairly straightforward. If I say copy source inventory system mod into source inventory system collection system, right? I think we can do this on our own without having to consult the source. So if we do item collection system, this is item collection system. All we need to do is delete everything else. Boom, right? And this is our item collection system. And now in mod, which I can't get this way, we delete the item collection system, right? And instead we'll say pub mod collection system, and then use collection system, item collection system, right? Does this cargo check? Nope. Oh, it's not found in this scope. So that means, yeah, this should be in source tutorial mod. Right, we already looked at that though. What other systems do we have in here? We have, let's take a look this way. Map builders, raw spatial. So this should be a spatial? No? Okay, so then it's got to be in source lib, right? Spatial? Yeah. And I added the inventory system here, so it should find it. Maybe I just have to put that there. Right, if I just say inventory system. Like that. Yeah, okay, that works. And then obfuscate name apparently is part of the inventory system. I don't remember that, but that's probably true. Yep, right there. Okay, so then every reference to obfuscate name has to be updated, or we just put it at the top. Obfuscate. Yeah. So we can just say inventory system, and we'll have to probably add that to all of these crates, right? Private struct import. Ah, okay. No, that's a pub struct. Oh, do I have to say pub use? Yeah, okay. Pub. Like that. I didn't say to do pub here, but okay. All right. We got down to 3 warnings. That's not bad. And that was just one system, but the rest of them should be straightforward because there's none of the other infrastructure that we need to deal with, right? Oh, we do need to add the things here. Okay, so let's go to inventory system, and we'll copy mod.rs to item use, or use system, I guess. Or for leaving the word item off of this. So this is exactly the code from the original system, which is why we aren't repeating all of them here. The only difference is that we've gone through the use super list at the top and trimmed out what we aren't using. Okay, that's going to be a little more difficult, but it would be nice if maybe Clippy will tell us, right? Clippy should tell us. So we drop system, we identification system, we remove system, and we use system, and then we tie it together with mod. Okay. Okay, so next, and then in the mod, we get rid of the item use system. I guess we say pub mod use system here. And then delete all of these. All right, delete that. And in here, we get rid of these guys. And we go to the end of item use system and delete all of that. And this should all cargo check. Yeah, now we have 4 warnings. Okay, so that was use. The next one would be drop system. Mod drop system. And all we need to do is move this here, right? Oops. And then we'll need to grab this stuff. I don't know what we need from it, but we'll do that, and we'll rely on Clippy to tell us what we're not using. Right? And then this, Do a cargo check. Oh, obfuscate name is now, oh, drop system has to be super? I don't know if we can get away with that. Or if we have to put inventory system there. No, we got away with that. Okay, good. What else is there? The item remove system. So, remove system. And that's all of this stuff. Oh, this one's small. Okay. And then up here, we'll copy this. And then pubmod remove system. And then we have the identification system. All right. Oh, and then obfuscate name is part of this thing here. Okay. It's a private function. I wonder why it... I wonder why it's working, right? Because it doesn't have a pub in front of it. But our other call to it's working fine, so I'm not sure. Maybe because it's in the mod, makes it pub? Anybody know? All right, so this is the item identification system. We'll have to add that here. Where is that? Okay, we have 7 warnings. Oh, I see. We don't have to put the pub in front of the mods, but we put the pub in front of the users. That's interesting. And then all of this stuff is still in here. We still have all of that. But it's, I don't want to go through this entry by entry to see what's there. And I wonder if we can get away with not including it because they all get included here. If all went well, cargo run will give you the exact same game we had before. Okay. So your mod to use the file and then pub use to share it with the rest of the project. So, oops. If I do this, it still works. Okay, let's go find out what the warnings are. Oh, okay, yes, all the stuff we don't need. Okay, so we can do this one at a time, right? Or we can do it this way. We can just say cargo check here and delete all the ones we don't need. Collection system. So this will take a little bit of time here. We don't need area of effect or confusion or consumable. Equipable, equipped. Don't need the hunger clock or hunger state. And I got to go through this because otherwise we'll just have these warnings forever. Provides food, provides healing. Run state. All right, so that's that one. Drop item. Drop system, sorry. It's almost the same. We still need equipment change. Don't need equipable or equipped. We do need the game log. Magic mapper and map. Particle builder. Player pools. Provides food, healing, run state, suffer damage, and town portal. And then none of those at the end. Okay, next. Identification. There we are. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Here we go. Consumable, equipment change, equipment game log, hunger clock, hunger state, and backpack, inflicts damage, and magic item, mapper and map, particle builder and pools. That's all of those guys and all of these guys. Okay. All right, that's pretty small. And then that's mod. We don't care about that. Remove system. Equipable, but equipment change stays. Interesting. Hunger clock, hunger state identified. Inflicts item and magic item. Still need the names. That's all of these guys, right? And then this, and then this. And then finally our use system. Use system has a lot of them that get left behind. So let's see, master obfuscated name, player, wants to drop item, and then these two. Okay, and that's the last one, right? Okay, so now we'll run this. And did we get them all? We did not. Okay, so cargo check. Oh, right, the mod itself. Oops, wrong window. Okay. So this still uses a few things, even though it's up here. We have name, obfuscated name, I mean, particle builder, player and pools, that whole row and that whole row. Okay, that's interesting. It uses these three. Oh, you know what it's using them for is this obfuscate name function, right? Oh, now we have a failure. Oh, I took too many out. Magic item should not have been taken out. Okay. Still 2 warnings. Item. And that's in the collection system. It's interesting that item collection system doesn't require... Okay, so now we're back to parity. We have no warnings. Git status, git add source, git commit refactored inventory system into its own module. And you gotta spell module correctly. Okay, so we've done all that work. That only took us a half hour. Okay, so a new effects module. We'll start with the basics. Make a new folder, source effects. And place a single file in it called mod. Okay, done. As you've seen before, this creates a basic module named effects. Now for the fun part. We need to be able to add effects from anywhere, including within a system. So passing in the world isn't available. However, spawning effects will need full world access. So we're going to make a queuing system. Calls in enqueue, I guess is a function name? No? I'm trying to parse this sentence. Calls in enqueue an effect, and a later scan of the queue causes effects to fire. Oh, calls in enqueue an effect. I get it. And a later scan of the queue causes effects to fire. All right, so calls into the system, queue an effect, add an effect to the queue, and then we do a queue scan to actually fire all of the effects. This is basically a message passing system, and you'll often find something similar codified into big game engines. So here's a very simple effects. Also add pubmod effects to the use list in main to include it in your compilation and make it available to other modules. Okay, so we're going to add a mutex. I should do a poll here. Is it pronounced vecdec or vecdq? I say vecdec because it's faster to say. Static, bang, pub, static, ref. Okay, so we're just creating a global. And a global effect queue. That's probably local to this file, I guess. And then, although it does say pub, and then we just add things to the queue and then process them. Just a bubble. Good morning. Area. Oh, interesting. So the area isn't centering it on a point. It's actually coming up with a list of all entities that were in the area when the effect fired, I guess. And then we have a target. So the creator is optional, right? They described it in the text above, saying it could come from the environment, which is fine. Although you'd still think that something fired it, right? Started the effect. We have the effect type, which is right now just a damage amount. And then we have a list of targets, which could be a single entity or a vector of entities. And I'm not sure why this is split out. Why can't you just have a vec of 1 for the target? For a single target? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out later. And target is target. And oops, it does not return anything. And gotta spell it correctly, otherwise it doesn't compile. And then we effect Q, lock, unwrap, push back, and we're gonna create the effect spawner. I'm not formatting it because I know cargo format's gonna do that for me. Creator, effect, type, and targets, and that's that. So that's how we add an effect. So let's go in our main, like they said, and add this use RT effects. Is that all we need to do? Oh, we have to add it to the lib. Never mind. Source lib. Pub mod effects. And then pub use effects : star. Wizard says, in computer science, a double-ended queue, abbreviated to DEQUE, pronounced DEC, like check, is an abstract data type that generalizes a queue for which elements can be added to or removed from either end, either the front, head, or the back tail. Okay, so it is, DEC is perfectly acceptable way to pronounce DEQUE. Thank you, Wizard. All right, so we do cargo check, and this is getting slower and slower as this project gets bigger and bigger, right? Oh, that should be a comma. And lazy static. Can't find lazy static in this scope. All right. Do we need to do something special? Because we have lazy static in other scopes. Maybe I have to add this. What did I do wrong here? Targets. Should be targets with an S. Okay, so that worked. If you're using an IDE, it will complain that none of this is used. That's okay, we're building a basic functionality first. The vec deck is new. It's a queue, actually double-ended queue with a vector behind it for performance. It lets you add to either end and pop results off of it. Yes, I use that many times in my Advent of Code. So in queuing damage, let's start with a relatively simple one. Currently, whenever an entity is damaged, we assign it a suffer damage component. That works okay, but has the problem we discussed earlier. There can only be one source of damage at a time. We want to concurrently murder our player in many ways. So we'll extend the base to permit inserting damage. We'll change effect type to have a damage type. Isn't that what we already have? Or maybe this was supposed to be something separate. I don't know. Probably new, effect type, damage amount, I32. So that's all the same. Notice that we're not storing the victim or the originator. Those are covered in the source and target parts of the message. Now we search our code to see where we use suffer damage. The most important users are the hunger system, the melee system, the item use system, and the trigger system. They can all cause damage to occur. So let's go to melee. Actually, you know what we should do is get this committed start of effects system. Okay. So melee combat system. And find the following line. It's 106 in my source code, and it's nowhere near 106 in my source code. All right, we're looking for suffer damage, : new damage. Which is right here. Right, so we have inflict damage, wants melee damage, and then from player entity equals player entity. Right. We can replace this with the call to insert it into the queue. Add effect. Some entity. So this damage comes in here, right? Effect type damage. Amount is damage. And then a target is going to be this guy. Right? And then for some reason we don't need this anymore. Well, this gets covered by this guy. But inflict damage? Oh, this was the component type, right? Okay, so we don't need that. We can also remove all references to inflict damage from the system since we aren't using it anymore. Okay. So we get, oops. There's no more inflict damage there, so now we get rid of inflict damage. Where was it? Just above particle builder. Oh, it's called suffer damage here. So don't need that line and don't need this line. Okay. We're going to need to make this. So this is already a public function. We're going to have to pull it into. Oh, we shouldn't have to pull it in because it should be part of the lib.rs, right? Oh. Use of undeclared effect type. Okay. Here's effect type. And here's a use of star. And this is saying use create add effect. Wouldn't this automatically bring these in for us? Oh, maybe because it's in the tutorial subsystem. Maybe we have to say effects : star. Yeah, okay, that was the issue. We still have this. Oh, we no longer need player entity. I keep hitting escape instead of deleting it. So we don't need this guy anymore. Okay, that's good. That's a nice cleanup. All right. So we did this. We can also remove, right, references to inflict damage. We did that. We should do the same thing for trigger system too. Here's our trigger system. So that means we can get rid of suffer damage. Here's suffer damage there. And here's inflict damage. And so this just changes to add effect. None. See, why wouldn't the trap be the source? Okay, damage, amount, damage. And then targets is single, target, entity. Right, and then we have to do the same thing. But I didn't, okay. I guess for game log we had to do it. Right? So we might as well just add it for this. Oh, is it just effect? Nope, it's not effect. What did I do wrong now? It worked for melee. Yeah, effects : star. Effects : star. Oh, crate. Got it. And then I guess we can just pull this guy in. There's no reason to have him separate. Yeah, okay, that's good. So that's the trigger system. And once again, we can also get rid of all references to suffer damage. We'll ignore item use system for a minute. We'll get to it in a moment, I promise. Okay, but there's others, right? There's the hunger system, which uses it. Oh, is that the only other one? And the item use system, which uses it. Did they mention hunger? They must have mentioned hunger system before, right? And my brain just forgot. Because it does that. Okay. Here's trigger system. I wonder if okay. Well, let's keep going, and then if this blows up, it blows up. And then we'll fix it then. Right. So applying damage. So now if you hit something, you're adding damage to the queue and nothing else happens. The next step is to read the effects queue and do something with it. I'm going to adopt a dispatcher module for this. Read the queue and dispatch commands to the relevant places. We'll start with the skeleton. So just make sure we don't have anything here. Effects and mod. Oh, our grooves #1. Our grooves, huh? #1. Thank you for the follow. Our grooves 11. All right, so we have an effects queue. Run effects queue. ECS. And we're going to pass in the world at that point. Okay, and we're going to go through each. Let effect is an option effect spawner. Effect queue lock unwrap pop front. If let some effect What? Target applicator ECS effect. And we'll uncomment that later, and then this will be else break. So I wonder why we're not using a while let here. Wouldn't that make more sense, right? A while let effect equals this thing. Target applicator. Wouldn't this be a more rusty way to do it? I'm asking because I don't know. All right. But meanwhile, let's try this and see if it works. And if it works, then great, we can get rid of all this comment. This is very minimal. It acquires a lock just long enough to pop the first message from the queue, and if it has a value, does something with it. It then repeats the lock pop cycle until the queue is completely empty. Yeah, so I think this works. Of course, we'll get a warning that we're not using 1FX queue. We get a second warning too. Oh, we're not using ECS. Okay, good. This is a useful pattern. The lock is only held for just long enough to read the queue, so if any systems inside want to add to the queue, you won't experience a deadlock. Two systems perpetually waiting for queue access. It doesn't do anything with the data yet, but this shows you how to drain the queue one message at a time. We're taking in the world because we expect to be modifying it. We should add a call to use this function. So in main, right, our game state, find run systems and add it almost at the very end with particles and lighting after it. Okay. So lighting equals there. So this is where we're going to put this thing here. Okay, so that compiled. Now that we're draining the queue, let's do something with it. So in the mod, we'll add in the commented out function, and then we're going to write the code to do it. Okay. So we're going to have target applicator. Epic Blog says, I have a stream idea. Write a small SSH server using Thrush. Why? Because that crate is kicking my ass and I need someone to grok the API and explain it to me. Oh, you have a stream idea for me. Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna stream Epic. All right. How do I remember to do that? Because I'm gonna forget. Can I copy this and then just maybe I can email it to myself? I'll read my mail not on stream. There we go. Better this window than that window. But you can always send me ideas at unclescientist@gmail.com. That's my... I'm happy to take ideas. There we go. Send. Okay. And now I get notifications everywhere that I just got email. Sweet. All right. So what were we doing? All right. We were doing this. So each target. Oh. We have targets tile, targets tiles, single, and target list. But targets, we only have single and area. So something broke between the above code and this code, I think. Are we going to update that, or I'm just scrolling forward because effect type bloodstain, nice. I don't think that we ever did these changes here, right? right? Because here's pub enum targets, single and area. And I think that's single and target list, right? So let's copy this. Copy, paste. 4 and 5. Yeah, we never actually set that up. Ooh, okay, so we're going to have to invent this from scratch, right? Because here's where we are. Here's where it got introduced. This means we need to update this, this code here. It used to be single and area, so I guess this is going to be target list. Right, and then we're going to have tile, which is going to be a tile IDX. Which what are they doing for tile IDXs? I32 index. I think they're using I32s, and then tiles, which is going to be I guess it's just a vec of I32. Should I cheat and look at the code or see if we can get this to work? All right, so then we come down here and we're going to match on every one of those targets, tile, ECS effect, and tile IDX. Targets tiles with an S. Tiles is going to be tiles iter for each tile IDX, and then we're just going to affect tile ECS effect and tile IDX. Right? And then the other two are the single with a single target, effect entity, and then we have targets, target list is targets iter for each entity, ECS effect and entity. Okay. So this makes sense to me, but what it's doing, but I'm still thrown for a loop because of all this extra stuff here that we didn't see before. All right, let's just plow on. Tile effect hits entities. Okay, I expect this. Oh yeah, that's right. We're going to add bloodstain to this. I peeked ahead. Okay, so now we have effect tile, which is actually up here. Effect tile. All right, so we're going to check to see if it actually hits an entity, which means does it have damage? And if so, then we're going to say that content is equal to ECS fetch map as your size and clone. Okay, we're going to clone the entire. So the tile content is just going to be what's at that tile location. So cloning that isn't going to be a huge burden. There's probably only one or two things on it anyway. And so it looks like we just loop over that, and then we say, oh, I missed a closing bracket there. it looks like all we do is loop over every entry in the tile and call effect entity, which is what we did with the single or the target list anyway. So Mizzard says target list was first introduced in this chapter. Yeah, so we just started working on this. Thank you for searching on that, by the way. And I think there's just some there's a paragraph or two missing saying, okay, now we're going to expand the targets list, or maybe back up here when they introduced the targets. This should have had all the target types in here instead of just single in area. Maybe this is like a leftover or old code. We're kind of debugging the document as we go along. And then to do on the effect. And we'll fix that in a bit. Effect entity ECS world effect has the effect spawner, and target has an entity, and then we're going to run the effect. So, wait a minute, so we're going to affect the tile, we're going to run the effect on the tile, and then run the effect on the entity. I'm gonna have to understand how this works. Eric Blog says, was about to say you're nearly done, but some of these last chapters are pretty big. Yeah. It would be nice if they had like little page numbers on here, or a page count, or not page, maybe word count on each one of these, because I don't know how big these are, but you can see how, we're almost, almost a quarter of the way done with this chapter, and it's already been an hour, which is very long. Okay, so there's a lot to unwrap here, but it gives a very generic mechanism for handling effect targeting. So the target applicator is called. We don't need to use passive voice here, do we? It matches on the targets field of the effect, right? If it's a tile target type, it calls targets tile with the index of the target tile. Who did that? Who did that? Mad Hat Jester, thank you for the follow. Okay, I actually have a sound effect playing, but for some reason my loopback code isn't playing the sound effect. I have no idea why. I can hear it, but it doesn't go out on stream, which is annoying. All right, effect tile calls another function, tile effect hits entities, which looks at the requested effect type and determines if it should be applied to entities inside the tile. Right now we only have damage, right? If it does affect entities on the tile, then it retrieves the tile content and calls effect entity on each one. And there's something to do with the tile, it affects it here. Okay, that makes sense. Now I get it. Right, and then for tiles, target type, multiple tiles for single entity and a target list entity. Okay, that all makes sense. So this framework lets us have an effect that can hit a tile and optionally everyone in it, a set of tiles, again optionally including the contents, a single entity, or a list of entities. You can describe pretty much any targeting mechanism with that. Next, in the run effects queue function, uncomment the caller, so our hard work actually runs. Okay, so that's I already uncommented the caller. Okay. Going back to the damage type we are implementing, we need to implement it. We will make a new file. Oh, okay. Well, first let's save this and see if this cargo checks. It does not. Wow, everything blew up. Oh, because I did this? Oh, and that blew up everything else. Okay. Effect type. Map doesn't exist, so we'll have to pull that in. Use create map. I guess it should go under the specs and standard stuff. Like that. What else? Tile IDX. Oh, it's called tile IDX. What's this one called? Just tiles. Okay. target and targets. Like that. Okay. Oh, down to 1. Okay, what do we got? Tile content, unknown field. On map, is it tile contents with an S? Oh, it's none of those. All right, we seem to have an issue here. This is fetching a map and then looking at tile content. Oh, that's coming out of spatial. Uh-oh, so we have an issue now. I've got a feeling that this needs to be updated to handle the spatial stuff we added later. There was a warning at the end of the spatial code, the spatial chapter, saying he hasn't gone through the rest of the tutorial yet and updated it with the new spatial code. So I think what we need to do is figure out how to get the spatial stuff working for this. And I forgot how to use it because it's been a couple of weeks now. Yeah, so here's where the tile content actually is. And this is what we want to do, is we want to say for each tile content, we want to call effect entity. So I think that's the way we want to work it. Source effects mod. So I think what happens is we say for each tile content, tile IDX. Well, let's look at another example of it, right? We're passing in the potential target, and then we're calling the yeah, so it's this thing here, and we want to just say entity ID, and we're going to say boom, 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 effect entity ID. Right? I think that's all we need to do here. Oh, I probably have to use it, right? Yeah. Or I can just put spatial here. Create spatial? Oh, expected use size found I32. Okay, so I wonder, yeah, tile IDX should be an I32. Or use size, sorry. For both of those guys. Wow, still have 4 issues. Oh, okay, so what we'll do is we'll just change this to just say as use size. Still have 1 warning. Specs entity cannot be... Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can just do that. There we go. Okay, so I think we've updated this now to match the new spatial code. Right, so that all checks. So now we're going to add this new file called damage.rs. Still have 5 warnings. Is that just things are not being used? Yeah. Yep, looks like things just aren't being used. Oh, create map is no longer used now, right? We don't need that anymore. Okay. Good call. Good find. Okay, so that should all check, and now we'll add the new effects damage. All right. Right, we did that part. So damage is a one-shot, non-persistent thing, so we'll handle it immediately. Here's the bare bones. Use superstar. Okay. Use create components pools. Oh, this is where inflict damage comes in now. Okay. If let some pools get me target. So if the target has a pool and the pool is doesn't have the God mode flag set, then we'll add this. Okay. Oops. Then pool hit points current minus equals amount. Okay, and then we have this nice little pyramid shape here. It seems like it would make more sense to do it the other way around, but I guess maybe this is going to extend. What I'm saying is that, you know, if it's not a damage effect type, then why do any of this work? Right? Don't grab the pools, don't destructure it, get a mutable thing, don't have to check God mode because we're not doing anything with it anyway. So you could just check it up front. But I think what's going to happen later is we're going to add more, right? Because we have the bloodstain one. Oh, yeah, notice that we're not handling bloodstains, experience points, or anything of the like. We are, however, applying the damage. If you cargo run now, you can engage in melee and not gain any benefits to doing so. Right, so we're not going to get any. Right now we get XP. You can see we have a little bit of XP for killing things. If I go find something else to kill, we might find some more. There's a bandit. Let's go kill a bandit and see what we can do. So yeah, my experience point went up a little bit. It still says level 1, but I'm getting close to level 2, which is good. Closer. So if we... Is this even going to work? Because... Oops, that's crafting interpreters. Where do we call inflict damage? Right? Because we need to hook this in now. Where does inflict damage get called? We have to change this code before we can do any of that. So I think they're missing that line. Right, let's go back to this mod and run the effect, right? Inflict damage. Oh. It takes the world. It takes the damage. And it takes the target. Right? Oh, did I not make it pub? I did make it pub. Maybe I just have to use it in here. Use... damage? Could not find damage and effects. Could not glob import module into itself. All right, mod damage. It's not a module though. Okay, so I should be able to get, oops. Get rid of those, right? Oh, okay, there we go. I'm sorry, I'm still very confused about how the module systems work in Rust. Still learning. I'll get there eventually. But there's one thing that's not being used. Oh, it's an irrefutable let pattern because there is only one effect type. We haven't added the bloodstains in yet. So if I build the WASM for this, will this even work? And it takes, now it's taking over 20 seconds to build this thing. "22 seconds we're up to. It's just going to get worse, isn't it? I need a faster computer. All right, so let's go here and see if we can... Oh, I just turned on God mode, so I can't take damage, but other creatures can, right? So I should still be able to kill the bandit. Yes, and I can. So that's still working. And it's still reporting the damage stuff down here and all that. Let me turn on the inspector. Just to be on the safe side, I want to check the console logs. Okay. So this is kind of all in place, except for this one warning, which we're not going to worry about. Refactored damage effects system. Okay. So let's keep pushing on. I think we understand all of this. We did the inflicts damage, and now we're going to do the bloodstain effect type. Okay. So we have damage, and we're going to add bloodstain. Right. Were the bloodstains actually working or no? They were not. Yeah, there's no bloodstains here now. Right, because we took that part out. Our previous version spawned bloodstains whenever we inflicted damage. It would have been easy enough to include this in the inflict damage function above, but we may have a use for bloodstains elsewhere. We also need to verify that our effects message queue really is smart enough to handle insertions during events. So we're going to make bloodstains an effect. We'll add it into the effect type enum. Bloodstains have no effect on entities in the now messy tile, so we'll update tile effects its entities to have a default for not doing anything. All right, I think we're also showing that this works, so we don't need this loopy code. We can just use the while let code instead. So what we're saying here is saying anything else is just false. Okay. Likewise, effect entity can ignore the event and other cosmetic events. So we can just say here, match. Otherwise, do nothing. Does that check? It does not, because I misspelled this. There we go. We do want it to affect a tile, so we'll update affect tile to call a bloodstain function. So that's down here. And that's what this to do is doing. I guess we could do that, tile IDX. Otherwise, ignore it. And I can just put this here, damage. And then we can just take that out, right? And apparently not. Oh yeah, because bloodstain doesn't exist yet. So let's write that. So public function bloodstain. That was easy enough. We'll also update inflict damage to spawn a bloodstain. Oh, I see. This is how we're gonna chain things together. So we do the hit points, and then if let some tile IDX is equal entity position ECS target. Where do we get this function from? Add effect. Now we have an even bigger pyramid. Yeah, entity position doesn't exist. Oh, we're going to add it in fx/targeting. Okay. And how are we going to get this? Target. There we go. Entity returns an option I32. That map is ECS fetch map. And then we're going to return some map xy idx pos x pos y as I32. Otherwise we're going to turn none. And now we have to link this back into this code here, right? So just say mod targeting, and then use targeting colon star. Didn't I just create... Oh, I didn't save it. No, I did save it. Source to fix... Oh, damage targeting. Okay, again, I don't understand how this all works. Can I do that? Map is not found in scope. Okay, that's a different one. Okay, so how did we do this source? Oh, maybe we have to put it in the mod. All right, what we do say mod targeting. Yeah, and then we just have to import that, right? Use targeting entity position. Do we have to create effects in front of it or no? We don't. Okay. There we go. That's not too bad, right? Now in effects mod, add a couple of lines. Oh yeah, okay. Mod targeting, pub use targeting, colon star. Okay. And probably this, just to make things consistent. Let's move the specs up to the top because that's not ours. There we go. Okay, so what does this do? It follows the pattern we've used a lot. It checks to see if an entity has a position. If it does, it obtains a tile index from the global map and returns it. Otherwise, it returns none. If you cargo run now and attack an innocent rodent, you will see blood. Okay, so that's what we had before. Oh, we're getting 2 warnings. What are those? Spec prelude is not needed in damage code. Interesting. Yep. Okay. So let's take 22 seconds. A 22-second break while we build the code again. One of the things that would be nice if we made like sub crates out of these things so that they could all be built individually and not take time. Oh, and we panicked. Why did we panic? Cannot recursively acquire mutex. Ah. We have a bug in our code somewhere. And unfortunately it doesn't say the back stack. So this is where we have to slide over here and cargo run over here. Oh, and then set the backtrace. And then figure out what the call stack actually is when we try to recursively acquire mutex. Zeta number says it's going to deadlock. Really? It won't just do the same thing that we did before? Where it recursively acquired a mutex? You're absolutely right. It deadlocked. So I guess that's the difference between running in the WASM thing and running in bare metal, is that the mutex code here in WASM will actually detect the recursive function. Oh! Separino, thank you for the follow. I think I know what might be the issue, is what I was trying to be clever with here, right? This whilelet, right? Because we're locked here. And we're still locked here. Maybe we do have to do it the loopy way, because that way it'll unlock before the next statement. Maybe. Now that I'm thinking about it more, maybe not. But let's find out. Let's find out if it really is this. Oh, WASM panics because there are no threads yet, Zeta number says. Thank you. That's good to know. Whilelet expression is evaluated each time. Yeah, I know it's evaluated each time, but maybe the lock... Oh. Okay, I'm gonna change it to this and see if it makes it any better. Oh, got a loop. It should be able to derive the type, right? Unwrap front. Without us having to specify the type, if let some effect. Right? Okay, so let's see. Oh, I don't want to build it here. I want to... Oh, I guess we can, right? Data number says just create a variable. So yeah, I think that's what this code is. Yeah, we create the effect variable, and the lock should be dropped at this point when we're using it here. I think what's happening is the reason we're locking, we're having the issue is that this chained add effect, right? While we're inflicting damage, the lock is held, and now we're trying to add effect, which tries to grab the lock again. Let's see. Yeah, that was it. Okay. Damn, because this code is so much uglier. Oops. I didn't realize I had a job still running. Yeah, it would be nice if we could say, drop the lock here. But I guess the lock in this while loop, the lock is being held. And that's what's causing the issue there. I cannot do it this way because the lock is being held inside the while. There. Zeta number says pop front drops the lock because it's owned. Then why is it working now? Right, because here we have a pop front. And then after that's assigned to effect, right? I would have thought the lock would be dropped at that point, but apparently it's not. Something's holding that lock. And now, once I switched it around to the other way, now we can do attacks just fine, and it's all working. So, I'm confused. Cowface Dude 99, thank you for the follow. All right. Oh, and you were the 250th follower, so congratulations for that. Epic Blog says, is there a WASM working group working on threads? That's a great question. WebAssembly threads ready to try in Chrome 70. This is back in 2019. Here's the threads proposal for WebAssembly. I have no idea what the state of it is. And it's a clone from this thing here. I have no idea what the current state is, though. There we go. Cafe says, is this a WASM stream? No. I mean, I'm doing WASM for this development only to make my life a little easier. That way I don't have to keep going here and running it and killing it and coming back here and then changing code. I can just pop over to the browser and run it. Run this a little, what was that over there? It's a bloodstain. The pop-up doesn't show bloodstain. It does show the slimy brown potion, which we know is a health potion, but it doesn't show what the bloodstain is. Oh, Zeta number says WASM threads are there, but they're different from Rust's threads. Okay. Something I can dig into off stream. So where were we? So we fixed that bug, right? So now we're going to do experience points. Oh, we have another effects thing. I missed particle. Oh, sorry for all the scrolling. I got to figure out where we got left off. Okay, right. This is what we read last. If you cargo run now and attack an innocent rodent, you'll see blood. That's good. Epic Blog says the idea for WASM was to be completely event-driven without threads. Interesting. If WASM is going to be an alternative to the JVM, then traditional threads make a lot of sense. Yeah. Everything becomes a VM in the end, right? Particulate matter. You've probably noticed that when an entity takes damage, we spawn a particle. Particles are something else we can use a lot. So it makes sense to have them as an event type also. All right, let's just make sure this builds. We should have 0 errors and warnings. We do git status, git add source. What did I do? All right, so we added bloodstains. And we fixed that bug. Git commit. Added bloodstains and fixed recursive mutex bug. Okay. Whenever we've applied damage so far, we've flashed an orange indicator over the victim. We might as well codify that into a damage system and leave it open for improvement in a later chapter. It's likely that we want to launch particles. Oh, excuse me, I have a phone call. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to use my fancy BRB. Okay, big apologies. That phone call was important and I need to go. So unfortunately, the stream is going to be cut short. I will see you tomorrow. We're going to continue with particulate matter. Let me get this pushed up. And I need to get the hell out of here. There we go. All right. Take care, everyone. Quick ending. Goodbye.